Welcome back to Pour into Purpose with Counselor Stewart. I'm so glad you're here. In our last episode, we talked about how it takes a village to help students grow. We talked about parents, teachers, counselors, administrators, and the community all having a role in pouring into students with purpose. And today, I want to stay right there in that growth conversation. But I want to take it a little deeper because before a student can bloom, before they can grow, before they can show us their full potential, we have to pay attention to the soil. Today's episode is called The Soil Matters, creating safe spaces where students can grow. Now let's think about a plant for a moment. You can have the best seed, you can water it, you can place it near sunlight, you can hope and pray that it grows. But if the soil is too hard, too dry, too crowded, or uncared for, that seed is going to struggle to take root. And this reminds me of an excerpt from The Darkest Child by Dolores Phillips. In this scene, Tangi May plants her mother a garden. She tills the soil, buries the seed, waters, weeds, and waits patiently for something to grow. But nothing comes up because the soil was in an environment that could not produce growth. And our students are the same way. Just like those seeds, sometimes the issue is not the seed. The seed still has potential. The seed still has purpose. The seed still has life inside of it. But when the soil around it is not healthy enough to support growth, that seed struggles to become what it was meant to be. And that makes me think about our students. Sometimes we look at behavior, grades, motivation, or attendance, and we focus only on what we see on the surface. But we have to ask ourselves, what kind of soil are they trying to grow in? Do they feel safe? Do they feel connected? Do they feel like they belong? Do they have people around them who see their potential before they see their problems? Because students don't just need instruction, they need connection. They need safety, they need belonging, they need spaces where they feel seen, valued, and supported. And that is the heart of the conversation today, because the soil matters. Sometimes we expect students to bloom in spaces where they are still trying to survive. We want them to focus, but they may be carrying stress. We want them to behave, but they may not know how to regulate. We want them to perform, but they may not feel confident. We want them to trust, but they may have experienced inconsistency. And sometimes what looks like defiance is really defense. What looks like attitude is really anxiety. What looks like laziness is really discouragement. What looks like disrespect is really a student who does not feel safe enough to let their guard down. That does not mean we excuse every behavior, but it does mean we look deeper, because every behavior tells a story. And when we create safe spaces for students, we are not lowering expectations. We are building the foundation that helps students rise to them. When I say the soil matters, I'm talking about the environment we create for students. The classroom environment, the school culture, the way students are greeted, the way adults respond when students make mistakes, the way we correct behavior, the way we celebrate growth, the way we make students feel when they walk through that door every day. Because the environment speaks before the lesson ever begins. A student can tell when a space feels warm. A student can tell when an adult is irritated before they even say a word. A student can tell when they are wanted in the room. And they can also tell when people have already given up on them. That's why safe spaces matter so much. And a safe space does not mean a perfect space. It does not mean students do whatever they want. It does not mean there are no rules, no structure, or no accountability. A safe space means students know, even when I mess up, I'm still worthy. It means when I have a hard day, somebody will help me get back on track. It means even when I'm corrected, I'm not rejected. That right there is powerful. Safe spaces are not always fancy. Sometimes a safe space is a teacher greeting a student by name every morning. Sometimes it's a calm voice when a student is escalating. Sometimes it's giving a student a moment to breathe instead of embarrassing them in front of the class. Sometimes it's checking in with a student who has been quiet, or just saying, I'm glad you're here, even when they came in late. Sometimes it's holding a boundary with love. Because safe spaces are built through the small things we do consistently. And in urban school communities, where some of our students are carrying more than they should have to carry, safe spaces become even more important. Our students need structure, yes. They need expectations, yes. They need accountability, yes. But they also need warmth. They need relationships. They need adults who understand that discipline and dignity can exist in the same space. We can correct students without crushing them. We can redirect them without rejecting them. We can hold them accountable without making them feel like they are the problem. That is how we create healthy soil. One thing I've been thinking a lot about is positive childhood experiences. Because we talk a lot about trauma, and we should. We talk about adverse experiences, and those are real. But we also have to talk about what helps students heal, grow, and become resilient. Positive childhood experiences are those moments that help children feel safe, connected, supported, and valued. It could be having an adult at school who believes in them. It could be feeling like they belong in a classroom. It could be being a part of a team, a club, or a group where they feel accepted. It could be hearing encouragement when they are trying to grow, or having routines that make the day feel predictable. Those experiences matter because sometimes we may not be able to change everything a child goes home to, but we can be intentional about what they experience when they walk into our school. We can make school a place where students receive connection, where they experience encouragement, a place where they learn how to regulate, repair, and try again. That is not extra work. That is growth work. Now, let me say this. Creating safe spaces does not mean being soft. Sometimes people hear safe space and think it means students do not have consequences. But that is not what it means. A safe space can still have rules, structure, and consequences. A safe space can still say that behavior is not okay. But the difference is how we respond. A safe space says, you made a mistake, but you're not a mistake. A safe space says, we're going to address this behavior, but I'm not going to shame you. A safe space says, You are still part of this community, and we are going to help you learn a better way. That is the kind of soil students need. Because when students feel emotionally safe, they are more willing to take risks. They are more willing to ask for help, to admit when they are struggling. They are more willing to repair harm and more willing to grow. So, what does that look like in real life? It looks like starting the day with connection before correction, building routines students can count on, using calm tones even when the students are not calm. It looks like giving students language for their emotions. It looks like asking, "What happened?" instead of only saying, "What's wrong with you?" It looks like noticing effort, not just achievement, giving students another chance to get it right. It looks like making room for restoration after conflict. And it looks like remembering that every interaction is either adding nutrients to the soil or taking something away from it. That does not mean we get it right every time. We are human. We get tired, we get frustrated. We have full plates too. But the goal is not perfection, the goal is intention. Because when we are intentional about the environment we create, we give students a better chance to grow. So here's something I want you to reflect on. What kind of soil are students growing in when they're in your space? Is it a space where they feel seen? Is it a space where they feel safe enough to try? Is it a space where they can make a mistake and still feel valued? Is it a space where they hear more encouragement than criticism? Is it a space where expectations are clear, but love is still present? And again, this is not about blaming anybody. This is about awareness. Because when we know better, we can pour better. And sometimes changing the soil starts with small shifts, a softer tone, a warmer greeting, a more consistent routine, a moment to listen, a chance to repair, a reminder that the student is more than the behavior we see in that moment. Small shifts can create big growth. So, as we think about our students, let's remember this: the seed matters, the water matters, the sunlight matters, but the soil matters too. Students need safe, supported, connected spaces where their roots can grow strong. And when the soil is healthy, students have a better chance to bloom, not just academically, emotionally, socially, or personally. Because we are not just teaching students, we are shaping environments. And whether we realize it or not, we are always pouring something into them. So let's pour safety, let's pour connection, let's pour consistency, encouragement, and purpose. Because when we create spaces where students feel safe enough to grow, we give them room to become who they were meant to be. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Pour Into Purpose with Counselor Stewart. I hope this episode reminds you that the work we do matters, even in the small moments, because sometimes the biggest growth begins in the quietest places. In a greeting, in a check in, in a second chance, in a calm response, in a safe space. So until next time, keep showing up, keep pouring with purpose, and keep creating the kind of soil where students can grow, bloom, and become. Because purpose grows from what we give.